anything to drink? You good?
Man, I'm good.
You sure you don't need some of this good old Joe here from Dunkin' Donuts? See how we did that?
Yes, sir.
All right, we want to say special thanks to Dunkin' Donuts and all our sponsors. We're here at Streetside Classic. We're here at Classic Caffeine and Community with the Fort Wealthy Word podcast show. Miss Teresa. Y'all can't see her, but she's the lady behind the camera. Thank you for coming out today.
You're welcome.
And today we have a special guest, Mr. Bobby Killion. Did I do it? Mr. Bobby
All
Killion.
over.
All right, so Mr. Bobby, we met when I was trucking. I was a truck driver over at his company, making a delivery, and we started chopping it up, talking. I started telling him what I did with the kids, and he was like, man, I need to get with these kids and see how I can help out, you know.
That's right.
And once we started talking a little more, come to find out, Mr. Bobby, has something to say to you. You know, he has a story. He overcame some challenges, and we wanted to share it today.
Yes, sir.
And so one of the questions is, it was where it all starts with us, is our childhood. I look at people that came from different backgrounds, because I always think we came from different backgrounds, but we had the same struggles.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
And one of the main struggles is the lack of fathers at home, you know. And so, tell us, let's get started.
So, man, I'll start early. I grew up in the country, not far from Fort Worth, right on the edge of Johnson County. Grew up with a stable family. Mom, dad, little sister, all of us lived in the house. We didn't live luxurious, but we didn't want for anything.
Right.
We worked really, really hard for everything we had. Dad instilled that in us at a young age. He trained horses for a living, and it was a 7-day-a-week, daylight till dark, sometimes longer than that. And so, but that's what we did. But it was stable. We had, great parents, strict household. This is, early 80s, in through the 80s, when kids didn't speak until they were spoken to, things like that. It's a little different nowadays.
Yeah, man.
Well, it was, Dad real tight with a leather fist, so to speak. And that's the way it was. And so you finished everything you put on your plate. You didn't really speak unless spoken to, but it wasn't a distressed childhood. It wasn't a difficult childhood. It was really blessed, to be honest with you.
Good deal. So the horse training.
Yes, sir.
You doing playing things now?
So, I don't really now. My wife still rides some. I don't, and I'll get into a little bit of that kind of why later. But I don't have the passion for him that my father did. I put my passion other places in life, and didn't really lead me down that path.
Okay. Now we mentioned, I mentioned not having a father in the house. I was blessed to have two stepfathers. Mm-hmm. But when they came in, I was kind of already wilding out. You know what I mean? But they was there, to give me some advice. Most of it I ignored. I'm not gonna lie, I ignored. But when I really needed them, my back was against the wall, I had them to count on.
Well, and so I had some people at that point in my life as well, and so where mine took a turn was at 12. Dad was diagnosed with cancer, and so that's where the challenges started. And so losing him at a young age was difficult. You don't know how to deal with that as a kid. And unfortunately, I didn't grieve. I got mad. I got mad at the world. I was mad at everything and everybody around me. So, and didn't know how to deal with that really. Didn't know where to put that energy. Didn't know where to go with it. Luckily, I had sports there and had athletics there. And that's where a lot of it went. But I struggled with, not having him anymore, not having that, discipline and disciplinarian in the house to keep you on the straight and narrow. And, I had two older brothers, they stepped in and did what they could, but I was difficult. I was hard-headed, thought I knew it all, and didn't want to listen really. Didn't fall into the traps that a lot of kids at the teenage years do when they don't have that father figure anymore. But if it wasn't for sports, I probably could have been on a different path, But playing football and channeling that energy into the weight room and channeling everything that I did was focused around that, and that was my out. That's where the anger went. That's where the energy went, and carried that all the way through high school. Was fortunate enough to carry that through college. and play athletics in college, play football, played at Ole Miss. Finished an engineering degree in the process, which kind of went hand in hand with the other thing that I spent a lot of my youth doing was working in construction. And so I followed that up with some education in engineering and was in a position coming out of school where things should have been great, right? Should have had the world by the tail.
So you said that, you're 12 years old, dad is gone, and I'm gonna park right here for a second, because a lot of times when we look at and talk about fathers not being in the home, we very seldom say that the father left because of cancer. We look at them as just absentee fathers.
That's right.
So there's two types of spectrums on this. You have absentee fathers, and then you have the ones that pass away, and whatnot, go home, as we say, homecoming. But I just want to say, not all fathers are bad fathers. I want to keep that out, and go from there. But and then you also said about your two brothers.
Yes, sir.
Can we say those brothers' names?
So I've got Danny Beck, who's my mom's son, my half brother from her previous marriage, and then Reed Killion, my dad's son from his first marriage. Okay. And both of them had an impact on my teenage years, and both of them, in their own way, tried to continue helping.
Yeah. And so, we all out here, we all see our teenagers struggle. A lot of our kids are struggling. So I want to shout out to you, the brothers, for trying to stay with them. You don't have to be a brother. You can be a neighbor down the street. You can be, I always like saying, the old man on the porch.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? The old man on the porch, or the old mechanic down at the shop. And reach out to the kids, and kids, reach out to them. It's a two-way street. If you know you're hurting, let somebody know. Don't let it keep it on ball in. That, like you mentioned, that anger.
Yes, sir.
When I was a kid, I released mine partying. We all know what partying consists of. So I don't have to break that down. But there's a lot of ways. But what I didn't do is go tell somebody.
Yes, sir.
You try to be a young man and try to hold it in. We tough. We can do all this.
Man, tell me about it. And that was the epitome of it, right? Big tough kid. And I was a kid and trying to be strong and trying to be tough and trying to act like it didn't hurt. Like it didn't, like everything was okay when it wasn't.
Exactly.
So
we need that. And guys, there's nothing wrong with it. I come to learn out later in life and do some counselors and people. You start, meeting people that's way smarter than you. One of the things that boys don't cry.
Yes.
See, you just laugh right there.
I laugh, but here I am, half this thing already trying to keep from being choked up.
I know, I can hear it in you. But we're here together. We'll get some napkins.
Right.
We'll get some napkins.
We may need them at the end.
We'll Mr. Reese will be prepared. And so, but yeah, that's crazy. Our kids needs to be kids. They, with my childhood, I started doing crazy things early. Need to be the man of the house. I love my mom, I love my sisters, I love my aunts, but 12, 13 years, I shouldn't have been doing the things I was doing.
That's right.
A lot of people say, hey, you remember these cartoons? You remember all that? I wasn't in these streets. I wasn't watching cartoons. You know what I mean? I wish I did, but guys, go cry. It's good to cry. It's supposed to help your eye ducts and whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Cleans them out.
Yeah, cleans your eye ducts out. So
them
go
out.
have a good cry. Go pull on somebody to help you out. Do it. Don't hold it in. So, and that's the next thing I want to talk to you about your anger and how you dealt with it. You said, if you don't mind, before the weights, before you got into the weight room, how did you do it?
I really don't know how I dealt with it. I was mean to a lot of people. Hard to get along with. In our day growing up, we fought. We had a disagreement. We fought. Take it to the bike rack, right? Meet me at the bike rack. Meet me at the corner.
Yep. We had a whole field.
In high school, my brother owned a car wash that was like blocks from the high school, so he owned it and operated it.
Okay.
And so if we had a problem, we went to the car wash. It was people couldn't even mess with us because we owned it. We were on private property, so it wasn't like we were even even trespassing or at the grocery store or whatever. But
that's the good stuff.
But I didn't, at the end of the day, I didn't deal with it well. I didn't deal with that anger well, and probably have had to get a long way through life to even understand that and learn how to. And it's still a process. I mean, I still deal with it. I mean, I deal with it today. I deal with trying to make sure I don't allow my emotions to overcome my logic and overcome, you let anger come out when it shouldn't, and that can be a challenging thing for everybody around you.
Well, it's a trauma. What you went through was a trauma, and
right.
So sometimes we get counseling earlier. It sounds like you didn't get the counseling part, and so like you said, you're still dealing with it. We all have traumas that we don't deal with, and sometimes we don't even know that the event is a trauma. I didn't until I got into the juvenile service star mentor. Trauma, that was just life. A life event that happened, and you don't know how to deal with it. So now they call it trauma. They have these things called your ACE scores. All the things that you went through in life, you put a score by there, you add it up at the end. And
this one is just,
unfortunately,
it's lost.
you're going to go through a lot of conversation to yourself. So, but man, we need to teach our kids. They don't need to ball it in, and they need to get the counseling.
That's right. And we had my sister and I went to a place, my mom went as well. It's called the Warm Place. Still in existence now, downtown Fort Worth. They specialize in grief counseling for kids that have lost loved ones, relatives.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to receive that at the time, and probably didn't even realize how much I learned from it until long after the fact. But it was, so we were involved in some of that, but I wasn't very receptive to it, And like I said, luckily, I found a channel for that. I found a channel for the anger and the energy in football, and take it out on the field. We could go out there and bang on people and hit on people, and go leave it all in the weight room and expend that energy, and it was a great thing. And then, I looked up, and college football ended, and that's where I took a turn, really for the worse. From being in kind of the center of attention, playing football in Oxford, Mississippi, small town USA. I mean, you're a celebrity on the football team.
Okay.
I was a long snapper, played 12 plays a game, but signed autographs every time we left practice. I mean, that's just the way you're treated.
Right.
And so when that went away, I turned to some bad habits, got involved with some bad people, turned into a 10 plus year struggle with addiction. I'm not going to get into a lot of that today. I don't want to glorify that or glamorize that portion of my life. I wasted 10 years of my life, but luckily was able to overcome it. Well, let me rephrase that. I wasn't able to overcome it. God removed it from me.
Amen.
And it was in an instant in time that it came over me heavier than I can even explain, and it was done. He removed the desire and changed my mind and my heart, and it told me it wasn't okay anymore.
Man, outstanding. I mean, God can do it. And I understand what you say about removing it, because in my walk, he did the same for me. He took something out, and yes, this was passed down to him.
Oh, it ain't that bad.
She got your stack.
I may need one in a minute.
Okay. Hey, and those napkins come from Dunkin' Donuts too. Thank you. They just not for wiping your mouth and your hands. They can, tap up your tears sometimes.
That's right.
So he took an addiction away from me like that. I mean, it was awesome. I was stunned. I was happy. I was relieved. I didn't know what was going on at the time. Mm-hmm. I was staring at my icebox, and so it was alcoholism. I love drinking, and so after one night of partying, what do you want to do? You want to grab a beer, and I literally I counted the steps. 17 steps to my recliner. I get up and I need me a beer. I go open that icebox, taste was gone. From 17 steps to the icebox in the man cave, it was gone. And I'm smacking my lips, like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? And,
well, mine was
crazy.
Mine was absolutely in an instant, and again, don't really want to get into the whole story, right. but it was an instant in time that changed my direction. And after that, weirdly enough, it was put in front of me numerous times, and was able to, maintain that focus and not fall back into it or fall back around it.
So now you see your addiction. God helps you with your addiction. Get through. So tell me about the life, because when you're in addiction, you hurt a lot of people.
That's right.
You lose a lot of stuff, spend a lot of money. I mean,
All the above.
you know what I'm saying? So tell me about that, because I know myself, it took some time to go mend some relationships. So tell me about your time.
So, you know, the beautiful part about it is very early on in it, I was able to realize that I missed grieving in some situations in my life. And I was able to really, truly process some of that stuff for the first time. You know, without the anger and without the crutch of addiction, I was able to get through those things and just change my focus. And I saw some things fall into place. I mean, from going to help my best friend's little brother for a little, week-long job that because I needed to earn some money, and meeting a business owner in that process that when we finished the week-long stuff, said, hey, I got a job for you. Why don't you show up at my office on Monday with some work boots? And that turned into 4.5 years, almost 5 years of employment with them, which led to where I'm at now. And so things started to fall into place and things started to go the right direction. I think ultimately I fell back on my raising. So work hard, and work hard and stay focused, and things will come together.
That's something that, we work with our youth on the weekends in community service, and I try to get the young man, hey, some of the jobs that we're doing out here is not pleasant. It could be 100-degree weather. We out here mulching, cutting trees down. I don't want to be out there unless a kid want to be out. But I tell them, you start something, you finish something. That's one thing. You start something, now you show up, you show out the whole time, right? And that's because this is your work. This is what you started. This is what people are going to see when you're done. You're over this. So what do you want to see? You don't want nobody, I'm going to use the word half-ass something.
That's right.
They're going to sit back and say, this is the person who was over. And I tell them, working hard, good work ethics. Your dad was a hard guy when it comes to have good work ethic and use that good work ethic. I learned from my grandfather.
That's right.
And pitching bricks, sun up, sun down. Been the first one out there, the last one leaving. Don't think about going to have lunch somewhere. you eat lunch right there on the job site. Guess what? You're going to finish in about 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that you need. So when you bounce back to good work ethic, got you the first 4 months, it got you 4.5 years, and got you to your job now.
So
all off your childhood and your dad working hard.
Really pretty much. And God showed up in there, and the longer that I focused on the right path, the more He showed up. And so, 4 years into that job, things got pretty difficult with the employment there. It was a small business, and they didn't always take care of the people that were taking care of them. And so I got really frustrated, got put in a really challenging spot, and was discussing it with my wife, fiance at the time. We weren't actually married yet, but fiance at the time, and needed to look for something else, but didn't really know how, and was sitting on LinkedIn one day, working, looking for a contact. The guy lost a number for somebody, and I was looking for a way to get a hold of him, and I'm on LinkedIn, and a job opportunity pops up on LinkedIn. They pop up, and in order to see the whole opportunity, you got to click apply. Okay. And so the description of the job opportunity was project manager, sports construction company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Nice.
And so instantly when I said that out loud, my wife said, that's what you need to do. Wouldn't that be awesome for you? And so I just told you I had to click apply just to read the whole description. Right. So I read the entire description, really didn't think a whole lot more of it, and kind of went on down the road. And it was probably 5 or 6 weeks later, I get a phone call out of the blue. Okay. And I answer the phone, and the guy introduced himself. He said, my name's William Chaff. I'm with Paragon Sports Constructors. You applied for a position here recently. Yes, sir. And talk about overwhelming. I was like, wow. And instantly got chills, and it was an uncontrollable laughter. I started laughing. And he goes, excuse me, did I miss something? And I said, Mr. Chaff, you're going to think I'm totally crazy, but I'm fixing to go to work for you. And he said, well, what do you mean? We haven't even had a conversation yet. And I said, look, I'm going to explain all this later. It'll make sense, but I'm fixing to go to work for you. And so that conversation turned into be an hour and a half conversation. I was in the driveway at home. My wife's coming out checking on me because I'm sitting in the truck.
Right.
I get out. We get an interview scheduled. I go in and interview. 2 hours into the interview, I have to, excuse myself. Hey, I'm going to grab my phone and text my wife, because I interviewed after hours. I mean, I went in, came into Fort Worth at like 6:30 to interview because it was at the end of a work job. Ultimately, they offered me a position. I accepted, and haven't looked back since. That was 10 plus years ago. But it gets even better. I get there, and the kind of joke starts getting made. Well, you got hired because you went to Ole Miss, and so the only reason my resume made the cut, they had 250 applicants for the job, or somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay.
The resumes had already been narrowed down to a stack of finalists, and mine came in late. And the only reason it made the stack is William also graduated from Ole Miss Engineering School. He was a tennis player there in the early 80s when my brother was there. And so that resume made the stack because of that, and I wound up being the only phone call. And and like I said, it was another one of those instances in my life where you just knew. I mean, I knew 30 seconds into the phone call, when it had fallen into place like that, it wasn't me. It was beyond my power. It wasn't worldly. It was godly.
There you go. And that's some things we miss. We call them coincidences or circumstances and all that, when it's just God looking out for you. We're older now, and we can look back at things that we've done and see God there. And you can see how God moves in our life.
And I do look at that now, and I look at people that I've come across through life, and people that guided me or nudged me or bumped me, and at the time you think it's coincidence or you think it's just the way it was supposed to be, and then you realize maybe long after the fact that it wasn't. That was God. That you read the story about you had a flat tire and you're upset that you were running late, but really that flat tire is what made you miss the head-on collision around the corner.
There you go.
And so trying to really open up and recognize those things spiritually and stay connected. It's easy. Big strong guy like me, tough guy, right? It's easy to think you got it and you've got control of this when you really don't. You really have to look to Him and let Him be in control and try to stay connected spiritually with and not just your mind, with your heart, and let it guide you.
That's where it starts. So it's like this: you want more of God and less of us.
Absolutely.
So like when you mentioned about when things start going right, is when you start walking in your faith. Mm-hmm. You give God the glory, and then you just step back and let Him work.
And I struggle with professing it enough, right? And I'm trying to be better about that. You and I had that conversation the first time we met.
Yeah.
Pretty early in our conversation, we talked about being blessed, and we made a connection in our spirituality. And to me, spirituality is a very individual thing. A lot of people show up at church on Sunday, but they're not really spiritual.
Right.
And so that personal walk is important, and everybody has to stay connected in their own way.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, being around people that are also connected and sharing experiences with them and sharing time in the Word, which I struggle with, trying to get better about. Have made a concerted effort lately to do that. But all of those things, like I said earlier, I didn't overcome my addiction. God did.
Exactly.
God removed it from me.
So, talking about faith, talking about God. So, what church home right now?
So, church home is Lifegate Church, Burleson, Texas. We went to church there when we lived in Burleson, and then when we moved away from Burleson, we tried a couple churches in Cleveland and just didn't really feel home. My wife got reconnected and started doing some Bible studies back at Lifegate with one of the pastors there, Pastor Amber. She's Chad's wife. Chad's the lead pastor, and his wife Amber's also helps. And so my wife started going to a Bible study with them, and then we kind of reconnected and started going back there. And look, man, I'll be honest, we're not there every Sunday.
Right on.
Seems like things get in the way sometimes, or we don't put enough effort to get there, but definitely connected there and definitely feel that way. So,
man, we're not there also every Sunday, but guess what? We got Facebook Live.
You know what? We do. And sometimes we have it around the island at the house, right? We pop Facebook Live up and watch it right there, and we can stay connected. So.
Exactly. So we're over at City on the Hill, Pastor Derek. That's where our church is at, over in East Fort Worth. A great church, and God, when I started going there, God started tugging, had me to get into the community. I have a little story. It's probably, I mentioned it once at our lunch, how I was done with community. I had the Mustang, had the motorcycle, I'm free of community work. Yeah, right. It just didn't, he had other plans for us. That's how we got here now. And so the truck driver. You know, I was driving trucks, and that's one of the main things I did is, hey, how's God treating you? You know, and I wanted to relate with people biblically and however you can. You know, you want to spread that word because at first, like you said, it's hard confessing that you're a believer. You know what I'm saying? But we do it now proudly. You know,
Absolutely.
But you have mentioned, you said the wife. My wife, she did it, but can we get her name on?
Misty Killion.
All right, Misty. I just want to shout out to you, Misty. Hey, he was shooting around the bush over there. The wife.
No, she's
I'm about to meet Misty one day.
We're gonna get there in a minute.
Okay.
So you know, you talk about where God shows up in your life, and you know, ultimately, I think one of the biggest ways He shows up is with people.
Okay.
And I don't think those things are by chance. And so I look back through my life at the people, and you know, I mentioned my brothers earlier and the role that they took.
Right.
I had a high school football coach, Tom Cone. He's the one that taught me how to snap a football. And so, without learning that skill and developing that skill, I wouldn't have led to what I did at Ole Miss and the opportunities I had there.
Okay.
So I see those people now, and I look back, and I'm like, man, that's God in your life.
Right.
You know, I had a long run of riding motorcycles and crashing them fairly often. And you know, ultimately shattered a vertebra in my back a little over 10 years ago, and nothing by the grace of God that I'm not paralyzed. But the people I remember in that are, you know, Dr. Gregory Smith. He was my spine surgeon, and one of the first things he said to me when I was laying in a hospital bed was, "You're going to be okay." And so we go through surgery, rehab, and treatment with him, and I get to the end of that treatment, and he comes in and he says, you know, how are you? And I said, well, I'm not good. I can't, you know, I've got nerve damage, my calves don't work right, I can't raise myself up on my toes, I can't jump, you know, some of the muscles in my glutes are disappearing, you know, I don't know, I'm not real happy about where I'm at. And he got seriously somber and almost emotional, and he put his hand on my shoulder. And he said, Bobby, when I got you, I never expected you to take another step. And it kind of changed my perspective. And I looked at him right then, and I said, well, then you lied to me. And he said, what do you mean I lied to you? And I said, well, you told me I was going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And he said, you were going to be just fine. Even if you rolled the rest of your life, you were going to be just fine.
Right.
He said, so be thankful for what you have and don't ever take it for granted. And so, you know, people like him, you know, people like a guy named Rex Shelley, he's a mentor at work. You know, when another deal in an interview, it's kind of a silly thing to say. I interview with the VP operations at Paragon when I'm there for my interview, and you know, he asked me, what do you want to do in your future? And I said, well, this is probably going to sound wrong, but I want your job. I want to come here in any capacity I can,
right,
but I want to prove my worth to you, and I want to step up, and I want to be you one day. I want to be in charge.
So you're looking for a mentor to put you there.
And so luckily he did. He took me under his wing. He mentored me. You know, another person that I think God put in my life to help my direction and get me where I needed to be. You know, William Chafford, my boss at work now, company president, you know, gave me an opportunity, and you know, I wasn't the most qualified resume he had, but we made a connection, and you know, we now reflect on things like that, and we try to hire people, you know, based on how they fit and their culture, and figure we can kind of train things, and you know, he saw something in me and gave me an opportunity that I've taken advantage of, and it's a really, really cool, rewarding thing. You know, I told you how important sports was to me,
right,
and how that was my avenue and how I got through. And so now what I do is build sports facilities, and I know in my heart that there's a generation of kids, there's people out there, there's another kid just like me that wasn't going to make it through his teenage years, or wasn't going to make it even into adulthood possibly, if he didn't have that avenue to channel things, and that connection, and that out, and that mentorship through coaching.
Right. Man, that's something that I want to talk to you about. We have on the list here, your day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. You know, meeting people from meeting somebody on the street or in the store, or some new recruits coming in to work. With your background, how do you treat people now? What's your view on that? Because at first we know you're angry.
Man,
so
my biggest thing is, and I preach it all the time nowadays. One, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Okay.
You know, if you wouldn't be comfortable with somebody speaking to you or talking to you or treating you in a manner, then don't treat people like that.
Right.
The other thing I try to tell people all the time is, look for the good in your life. Look for the bright spots. I've kind of come up with a little catchy saying, and I don't know if I heard it somewhere and copied it or came up with it, but spend your time looking for the sunshine. Because if you do, you're going to live in the sun. If you spend your time looking for the clouds, you're going to live under an umbrella.
Okay.
So look for the bright spots, look for the good things, look for the positives.
That's the first. Mr. Lisa, have you ever heard that before? Hey, I think we're going to close at you. Hey, that's Mr. Killion.
So, and I just went through a group of people a second ago, and I guess kind of get to a point where we'll wrap up. I talked about a group of men in my life, right? I just talked about a bunch of important people in my life that were men. So let's not forget the women.
There we go. Okay.
So, for my mom.
Let's say her name. Get mom.
Mary Goldberg.
Okay. Goldberg.
Mom made sure we were taken care of. She made sure she found a way.
Take time.
We're going to.
Take time.
My little sister, Robin Killion, stuck by me when I gave her every reason not to, and still does to this day. Had a mom away from home when I was in college, a lady named Debbie Coleman. Treated me like one of her own. I was a college kid that come and go out of that town all the time, and she took me in and treated me. Their whole family did, treated me like I was one of theirs. Unfortunately, lost Debbie to cancer a little over a year ago at this point. But went 15 years without seeing her, and was lucky enough to see her a couple summers ago, and it's like we'd never missed a beat. My grandmother, man, nobody could have had a grandma like ours. And then probably last but most importantly, my wife.
Yes, miss.
We knew each other growing up.
And she's still married.
So we went separate directions when we were teenagers. Life took us on different paths. Ran into each other again, going on 12 years ago, and haven't been apart since. Been married a little over 7. Hugely important in my spiritual growth. And again, one of those big tough guy things, right? You want to be a big tough guy, you don't need anybody. Everybody needs a companion and a partner, and I'm blessed to have an amazing one.
Right. Well, man, it sounds like you, Miss Misty. I'm going to have to meet you one day. You talk about the women in your lives. I have a lot. You mentioned the grandmothers. You mentioned the stepmoms. You mentioned the ladies out there who take care of you at school. Oh, I tell you, I can imagine having to get together here, just with all my aunts and stepmoms, and cousins. It takes a lot of them.
No, it does.
It's something about a woman, that's different from an uncle or a guy telling us something to do. It's like, the respect is more there. We never cussed in front of our aunts or grandmothers. It's always yes, ma'am, and stuff like that. But man, God, the better creature is definitely the woman. And I don't want to say the creature, but
you again, I mean, back to that big tough guy, muscle-headed mentality.
Right.
You guys want to look the wrong direction, and they don't. They want to be more than they need to be sometimes, and it's okay to lean on them, and it's okay to confide in them, and it's okay to depend on them.
Exactly.
And I think anybody that doesn't have that's missing out. There's God gave them to us for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's our job to depend on them, in the way that we do, and it's their job to depend on us in the way that they do.
Man, I was having a little battle with my wife last night. She wanted to mow the yard. I take pride in the yard. And so
my wife is laughing right now, I promise.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I'm like, no, you're not going in the shed to get the lawnmower. The last, like 2 weeks ago, because the weeds, I research the grass, so I don't like it low because you're going to get weeds, all this stuff. But she had somebody come mow my yard. Made marks in the driveway, bit my pole, bit my gutter. I'm hot, And so now she wants to come out here and do it. And I'm like, no. But at the same time, I got fed up saying no. I was like, go ahead and do it.
So we live on 8 acres in the country.
Okay.
I mow probably 7 of it.
Okay.
So it's a lot.
Right.
I got a big 60-inch zero-turn mower, commercial grade mower, and look, my wife's not scared to work. She'll get out there, get on the shovel, get in the dirt with the best of them.
There you go.
And early on, when she got on the mower, every time she got on the mower, Bob had something to fix.
Oh yeah.
Sprinkler head, something. But now you know what? She's got it down. So I had a surgery here a few weeks ago and had some complications with it, and had to be careful about sweating or getting hot or getting out there. And of course, the spring rains we've had this year, she was a trooper. She got out there, got on the mower, kept things caught up, and kept things knocked down. So,
well, hats off to you, Mister. Hey, good job, good job. I like this. Go out and do it. Save me some time. I was able to get ready for the day, so you know what? Why fight it? Join it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
All I have to do now is go edge and put I call it the tailor's touch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Put my touch on it. So, hey, Mr. Killion, I appreciate you coming on today. I know that we talked about you coming on board with us to talk to some kids. I do have one young man, Mr. Carter. He's actually a center right now. Will come online, and man, I would like for you to connect with him.
Absolutely.
And teach him some tricks. Teach him how to center, hike the ball. And so I think if we can find that time pretty soon, it'd be great. And I know we talked about the company coming on board as a sponsor. Man, I just appreciate the time you coming on, talking, getting that relationship better, and I look forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, we are here at Streetside Classics. We're at the Classic Caffeine and Community. Hey, I see somebody else over there. Look at you. We're going to get you scheduled on. We're going to get you scheduled on. But we're out here having fun. We got the car show in the back with A-Wall, and we collaborate. We're trying to raise $500 for our veterans today. Come on out. Y'all know how to donate online. And so we want to go out here and feed our veterans this summer. $500 feed 500 veterans and homeless in our community. Go to tftcommunity.org. You know how to reach us. We're here at Streetside, so we appreciate it. Thank y'all, and we'll see y'all next time. Enjoy your holiday weekend, and love a kid, hug on them, tell them don't get out of trouble. Yes,
well, let's say a special thanks with it being Memorial Day weekend. Let's remember what that's all about.
Yes, sir.
Let's thanks to our service members.
Yes, sir.
That allow us to live the life we live and have the freedom to choose and be who we are. So
it's a lot of wars going on out there right now. A lot of them I don't understand. I don't want to dive into that, but if it wasn't for our veterans, you probably have some in your family. I have a gang of them in my family.
I got one shipping out in about 6 weeks.
Okay.
So
what are you doing?
My son William Moore is going to the Marines.
Devil dog. He gonna become a devil dog. So hey, ain't nothing better than that. Hoorah, hoorah.
That's right.
And hopefully I'll meet him also. Old man in the Marines was a blast. It was fun. So he gonna get some discipline. He definitely gonna get fit, and his hands gonna.
So were you a Marine?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So he's been through
basics and everything.
He's been through all of his intake stuff. Been through MEPS.
Okay.
Should get sworn in next week, and
There you go to have fun.
Thinks he'll ship in July to San Diego. So he's got his sights set on going from boot camp to straight into some additional training. So he's trying to go the special forces route. So we'll see.
I couldn't do special forces because I couldn't swim.
That's right.
And so they put them packs on your back. I went straight to the bottom. So I tried. I was too light in the rear.
That's right.
I was too light in the rear to hold that body, man. It's like it's a dummy that they put on your back. It's like carrying a person. And then you add that weight of that water. I just didn't have it. I couldn't.
My dad was in the Navy as well. So
okay. Well, man,
yeah. Thanks to all of our veterans and say a prayer for them. So
yes, sir. As you heard it, man. Just keep your head up this weekend. Don't enjoy the family. Don't do nothing crazy. And we'll see y'all next time on the Full Wealthy Work Podcast Show. Thank you, and y'all stay blessed. Thank you.